Hey there, welcome to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show. This is a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. We're back here. It's now day 13 for our dynamic duos, and today's feature will come from the Canadian side of the border. And yes, we're talking about American Woman. The album's American Woman. This is the Guess Who. Of course, we're talking about Burton Cummings and Randy Bachman. This album was actually my introduction to the Guess Who. I've listened to a lot of their stuff over the years, but this was my introduction to the band. Burton Cummings, yeah, he was a pretty strong front man. You know, when you were watching the band, he was the guy most of the time your eyes were on. He also played the piano, but a lot of the times, at least in the Guess Who, he would be out from behind the piano, up front singing. He had a very, very kind of distinctive voice. Not something you could mix up with anybody else. Almost a kind of a bluesy, but almost a soul-sounding voice, you know. Just a strong voice. But he did those rock songs, No Time, No Sugar Tonight in My Coffee, American Woman, there's all kinds of blues. What was the name of that song? Proper Stranger, The Talisman, just one track after another. He played and sang them all so well. Of course, he's most known for American Woman because it was the huge track on both sides of the border. But he just had a kind of a charisma about him, and you could tell by listening to his voice that I don't know if he'd actually had any training, but he knew how to project himself with his voice out there. I always admired his voice. Even in his solo career, he just had a really strong sounding voice to me. The other guy, of course, in this dynamic duo, I have a lot more experience with and a lot more liking for. And we're talking about guitarist extraordinaire Randy Bachman, who also went on to form another group called Bachman Turner Overdrive. But at this point in time, he was still a member of the Guess Who, helped to write a lot of these really catchy tracks, and then went on to do the same with Bachman Turner Overdrive. But he had a very distinctive sound to his guitar playing. And the guy could solo as good as anybody. He just had such fantastic ability to put out catchy solos that were so timely and so just so memorable, I guess is the best word to put it. But that combination of him and Burton Cummings together on stage was very dynamic, very eye-catching. People would watch to see what an amazement about what Randy was going to do next, and then you had Burton with that fantastic voice, the two of them front and center. And I know there was other members in the band, but did anybody really notice them until later when people started studying bands and stuff like that? I'm not sure they did. Those two guys were so charismatic. And I actually saw a video one time not too long ago with Randy Bachman on a country western show playing You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet, and he had no beard. I would not, if I passed him on the street, I wouldn't have known it was him. I just never had seen him without a beard before. It's kind of different. But the two of them, they did tour together sometime, I believe, in around the early part of this century, maybe 2000 to 2005, and somewhere in there. They did the Cummings Bachman tour. Couldn't use the name because the Guess Who name was owned by others, and but they played all of those classic Guess Who songs that people have come to know and love, and they play Burton Cummings singing that wonderful style of almost operatic vocal style that he had, and then Randy Bachman with his solid, loud riffs, but with some real catchy kind of bluesy guitar playing, but with some real rock solos as well. Yeah, the two of them are fantastic, and to me, they got to be mentioned on this list because I can't think of any dynamic duo that is so much better than them that they can't make a list like this. So for today, it's the Guess Who's, Burton Cummings and Randy Bachman. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. It was fun to make, actually, talking about my fellow countrymen. And please subscribe, it's much appreciated. And we'll be back on the 14th with another episode of Dynamic Duels. So take care of yourself. Goodbye.